Well, you've seen him on Tucker Carlson, you've seen him on Alex Jones, and now he joins our little program here, Real Tucker Jake, Trucker Jake, not Tucker, Trucker. How are you, my man?
And thank you so much for asking me on. This is awesome. It's just I don't get a chance to be home very often, and I'm still not home. But man, it kind of feels like it. So I really appreciate the invite. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Jason.
my pleasure. And I started following you on the X, I guess, a couple months ago. What a great follow. You're jacked, by the way. I have to say that before we get started.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of hard work. I started getting interested in health and fitness many years ago. My daughter was born with she was a special needs kid, and so I took medical courses to help manage her condition, and that led to an interest in health, and that led into losing weight and going to the gym, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Well, it's great what you've done with yourself, your family, based out of Big Sky. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, but I don't want that to fool you. I have been all over the place, all the way, Stevensville, but I've lived all over the United States, from Vegas to Florida. I've lived in the Midwest, and I tell you, I have met people from all over the United States, and hands down, MAGA patriots are the finest people I have ever known or ever will know.
Yeah, it's amazing what has happened in 7 years with this country, and how did I mean? Obviously, always a patriot. Was there a turning point for you when you decided, man, I got to go public with how I feel about this?
That's funny because my account, I started the account exactly 6 months ago today, and it started out as a health and fitness account. That's why it's Big Sky Fit. It was going to be a fitness account, and I, like you, just started making political comments, and it literally took a right turn off you know, into this.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me too. And I know I'm just I have a little sports show. I've got a little radio station, but it's amazing the impact that just one person can start to have. And I have nowhere the impact that you've got. I don't have, all the great followers on the X, but when you look at a grassroots movement that started really 7 years ago because of one guy who's been right about everything, love him or hate him. I mean, he's been right about
Yep.
literally everything since he's walked down that escalator or rode down it.
Yes, and me, like millions of Americans, when they saw him and when they heard those words that he was speaking, we were on board immediately. It's like, yes, this is what we want. We've been waiting to hear, and ever since, just diehard Trump supporters.
And it's not just, I mean, like I said, love Trump or hate Trump. It's the movement. And it's I mean, this is a guy that truly loves the country like us. It is a guy that is a businessman and doesn't fall into, you can't buy him. I mean, he's just like, Kerry Lake down in Arizona. They're not going to be bought. And I mean,
Right.
what he's gone through in his personal life for us Americans, it's commendable and just blows my mind at the same time.
You and me both, and a lot of us Americans. I literally, if you go on my account, you can. I literally pray. I post prayers for him almost every single day. I cannot believe what he and his family have been through.
Oh yeah.
We see what the media shows us, but there's so much more that they're going through that we don't see.
Mhm.
It's the way I described it is they're just giving him a death of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Every little thing, every little day, it's just, it breaks your heart. But like I said, I've never known a fighter as strong as him, and that's why I'm proud to cast my vote.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, we've got a long way to the general election, but he's sweeping through the primaries. It's absolutely nuts, the numbers. But when you look at media, and I've been a part of it, and people give me a hard time, but when you're in the media like I am and trying to fight for truth, trying to get the truth out there, I mean, it's tough nowadays because you don't know what's all going to be shared factually and when you wade through what you see, I mean, you have a lot of faith, you have a lot of belief, but how do you personally come up with your feelings on a subject?
Oh, you know what? That's a really good question. No one's ever asked me that before. Just like you, Jason, for years, I have seen our MAGA brothers and sisters ridiculed, shamed, humiliated, embarrassed by the left, called all these awful names. And remember, I meet MAGA patriots all across the country, and I get to know these people, and they're just fine people. And my account is all about lifting up MAGA. And I'm saying, listen, you're not what these liberals are saying you are. You are the finest people I have ever met. And they're finally starting to believe it after years and years, because so many of them have been feeling alone. They've been feeling afraid. And now it's turning around.
Mm-hmm. It's a movement I don't think anybody's ever seen across this world, let alone in the United States. As we talk to Trucker Jake here on the Jason Walker Show, let me ask you this: when Joe Biden or the Democrats come out and say, you know, MAGA, extreme MAGA, what is it about this, the just make America great again, that offends them?
You know, you tell me and we're both know, but they, you know, everything that the left comes up with, you know, it's just nonsense. I preach every single day: ignore the left, ignore the liberal comments, ignore the ridicule. Basically, anything that they come up with, it's just BS. You know, everything they come up with. You know, I'm waiting for them to tell us something factual, Jason. When was the last time that happened? I mean, we had COVID, everything, the lockdowns, the vaccine, the masks, and all that, and you know, the election fraud, everything. Well, nothing is truth. And
it's crazy because when you present facts, then they don't believe it, and you know, and I've reached out to liberal candidates, Democratic candidates to come on the show. They refuse to, which blows my mind because they don't want to have a conversation about facts, which is crazy.
You're exactly right. Because liberals do not think for themselves. They get their marching orders from on high. That's the great thing about being conservative, because we can think for ourselves. We can disagree with each other. We can disagree with our leaders. Liberals must comply. You ask a liberal if they've ever disagreed with anything that Joe Biden has ever said, and they won't. They can't.
Why is it? Let me ask you this then. Because it's always, I don't see a lot of Biden Harris stickers or signs, but when you ask a Biden supporter or a Trump hater, name something good that Biden has done, they always resort to hating Trump. What? I mean, just throw your hands up. That's all you can do.
Right. And that's why I preach. I lift up our MAGA brothers and sisters. I pray, and I tell everyone, just ignore the left. It doesn't pay. Focus on MAGA. MAGA are the real heroes. The left, their opinions are irrelevant because it's just ridicule. It's just shaming. It's nonsense, you know? So why waste your energy, Jason? Right?
No, it's tough. And, you know, when you have friends or family that are on the opposite side, and you can't have a normal discussion without it turning into vitriol. And it's amazing to me because the swamp, so to speak, it's both sides. And it's all for one guy. I mean, COVID happened for one guy, in my opinion. It was, you know, all this stuff that's going on is to keep one guy from exposing both sides of the aisle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. And it blows my mind to know, I mean, just because of one man that showed up on the scene, now our lines are divided. We know exactly who is who now. Yeah. Before, I believe that evil was able to hide in the shadows. No longer.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, it's you see that more and more, and it's crazy. And it's not just, politics, but politics revolves around everything in the United States, and people forget Laura Logan said it best the other day in front of a committee, the great reporter, that we are the people, we are the government. And I think the entire government has forgotten that.
Yeah, exactly said right. They own Washington.
Yeah.
They own Washington, and they own these big blue cities. But you know what, Jason? We own Main Street America, and there's power in that. And there's value in that. We have more power than we realize.
I totally agree. As we talk to Trucker Jake on the road, where are you at right now? Not that we want to.
I am somewhere in Utah.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you'd go generic.
I love this state.
Mitch McConnell announcing Wednesday he's stepping down in November. Why not earlier?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's another one. You know what, Jason? You tell me, and we'll both know. He's not fighting for the home. He's not batting for the home team. That guy, I wouldn't be surprised if the Democrats was going to throw a party for that guy in the John McCain ballroom at the DNC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's never been there for Americans.
No,
they don't care about us.
No, and Kentucky keeps electing him, which is nuts. And I feel like in Montana we've done a great job over the history of our state of, and I've only been into politics about 30 years, but when you look at Montana, I mean, Senator Max Baucus was a great Democrat, which is kind of hard to say at times, those phrases together, but he got a lot done for the state. And when I'm a Montanan, that's what I look for. What are you doing for my state? What are you doing for me personally first and my family before you take care of the government and other countries?
Yeah. Tester's been there forever, and I don't think they're going to get him out of there personally. But
yeah, that'll be an interesting race this year.
Yep.
So you mentioned, Joe, Jake, that you spent a lot of time in other states, lived in other states. What brought you to Montana?
Oh my gosh. Well, family. Obviously, I have family in Montana. I've spent a lot of time in the Midwest. I have family out there as well. My daughter was born in Las Vegas, and I lived in Florida for quite a while. And of course, my job, it takes me all over the United States, brother, coast to coast. Yeah. And that's the one thing I love about this job is meeting these people, talking to these people in little towns, that most people never heard of. Most people never heard of Scottsbluff, Nebraska, or Richfield, Utah. And every time I go to these towns, I look forward to it because these people are just the nicest people, not just Montanans, but, people in Utah and people in Wyoming. Yeah. They're just the finest folks on the planet. And the liberals call this flyover country.
Right.
That's what they think of these people. These fine people, right?
Well, the only time they appreciate the flyover country is when a Chinese balloon's heading over it. Did I say that out loud? Feel free to use that.
Oh, man.
When you meet people from across the country.
If I write that down, man, I got to write that down.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. It just popped into my head. So there you go.
My friend.
When you meet people from across the country and maybe they don't agree with you politically or in everything that, that people are going to disagree no matter what. But what do you say? And how do you compromise? How do we get compromise in this country?
Well, when someone disagrees with me politically, I mean, a legit disagreement, and I usually tell them the same thing that I tell you. Well, first off, we're all grown adults, and we all know what we know, and we all believe what we believe, and no one's going to educate me on anything. I know who I am, but I also don't try to change the mind of someone else, right? I have met conservative people who are pro-choice. Now, I am absolutely pro-life, but I'm not going to eat their lunch about it. But that's, like I said, that's the great thing about being conservative. Now, if you're talking to a liberal, forget it.
Yeah.
I avoid those conversations.
Yeah. This boycott, truckers boycott, we've seen it really ramp up the last few years. We saw it in Canada at the borders have success. We've seen it in Colorado, Texas. now New York. My stepdad was a long time OTR guy, and I don't think people realize, and I used to be a dispatcher for a trucking company. If New York shuts down because of trucks, or if any place in United States, truckers are very important and carry a lot of weight in this country. Take me through this boycott in New York.
I'll take you to the boycott from what I understand. There are owner operators that are absolutely not going to deliver to New York. This is what I know. Now, personally, I have not delivered a load to a blue state in over 3 years. All right. Mm-hmm. I don't go anywhere near New York. I don't go anywhere near blue states. That's just me. But when they say that they're not going to New York, as a former dispatcher, you know that even a 10% decrease in goods and services is going to hurt them, especially New York, because they go through goods and services like crazy. Now, they also have a deep water port, and that might slow things down. They're close to Canada. I don't know what the Canadian truckers are doing. So there's a lot of different factors going on. The only thing that I can say is time will tell. The Liberals, they're taking a victory lap right now because the store shelves, they're all stocked, and they're taking, they're showing photos of, the grocery stores. It's just like, okay, Liberals, these stores have things called warehouses, yes, where they store large amounts of food. It's going to take a little time for them to feel a pinch.
Well, it's like when the shipping was so bad a couple years ago. I mean, you didn't feel it right away, but the longer time goes on, you're definitely going to feel it. And truckers, I mean, when you think about goods and services and what truckers bring, you can shut rails down for a little bit, but you won't have the same effect as truckers. I mean, you can pass 15 in a mile stretch between, here and Montana City if you want. I mean, they're everywhere. And if the trucking industry shuts down, I hate to see where America would end up from there.
Yeah, it'd be something on a Road Warrior, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point. You mentioned you personally don't. Are you an owner operator then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have that choice. Some guys don't, and that's tough because they could lose their job.
And that's exactly, and we totally get that, Jason. You got to feed your family, and nobody's going to give anyone a hard time for feeding their family. Absolutely not. We are Americans. We're just exercising our freedom of choice. This is our peaceful demonstration, and that's it. That's what the Liberals don't get. They're angry. Yeah. They're very angry that we would even talk about it. But you know what? Hey, Liberals, we're not burning down cities, are we?
That's a great point too. Vice President nomination. Who would you like to see Trump?
Oh, that's a great question. Here's what I want in a vice president. I want someone who is such a fighter that they wouldn't dare impeach President Trump again, that they would be afraid of this vice president ascending to the White House. I want someone that is going to go after these people for everything they have done, for J6, for election fraud, for all the nonsense during COVID. I want these people brought to justice.
Do you think we'll ever see that? Do you think we'll see a Hunter Biden behind bars, for instance? I mean, there's so many things. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It all depends, man. It all depends who gets up there, because we know that there are emails out there, there are text messages out there are phone records. It's out there. The evidence is there.
Yeah. We
just need people that are going to want to go after it.
Yep.
We all know who the perpetrators are.
Yes.
We know.
Yes, we do. It's just amazing. Like when you bring up January 6th, those guys sitting in jails for walking through a building that they own, that is the people's house, and no bail,
yeah,
sitting in solitary. And then you have the unfortunate
Yep.
murder of the college student down in Georgia. That's a guy that was in this country illegally, let in this country illegally a couple of different times, and let go by the justice system a couple of times. And there's two systems,
Yep.
two tiers.
Yep. Absolutely. I'll give you another example of the young man up in Minnesota, 18-year-old kid that was run down by a Biden voter. The 18-year-old kid was a Trump supporter, and he was killed for being a Trump supporter. The guy that ran him down only got 5 years. These J6 guys are getting 25 years.
Yeah, for taking a picture. And not everybody at January 6th.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say that not everybody was on their best behavior, but 99% of those people were there for the right reason.
Granted, but we also saw the videos where the FBI was inciting this.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Well,
So, I'm going to give them a pass on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I wish I had more time to spend with you, because you're full of information. You're full of the it factor. Thanks for joining this little show. I appreciate it.
Hey, Jason, anytime, man. Anytime.
Keep up the great work. Keep our goods and services going. Appreciate what truckers do. They don't get enough credit, and they get a bad rap a lot of times. But man, if I'm next to a trucker, he's getting the right of way every time, and I appreciate what you guys do for your work, for sure.
You're good, man. God bless you, brother.